There's a moment that changes everything in a toxic dynamic, but most people miss it because it does not come with noise. It does not come with drama. It comes with silence. It comes with awareness. It comes when you stop reacting the way you used to. There's a strange thing that happens when someone who used to control your emotions no longer gets access to them. The energy shifts. The tone changes. The entire connection begins to reveal what it truly was all along. What once felt powerful starts to look different. What once felt confusing starts to make sense. And what once felt like love begins to show its real structure underneath the surface. This is not about fear. This is about clarity. Because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, you stop being controlled by it. And that's where the real change begins. Control is not strength. It's dependence. It's emotional hunger dressed up as dominance. People who rely on control are not grounded in peace. They're grounded in reaction. The entire system collapses when reaction disappears, because reaction is the fuel. Without it, the performance has no audience. What looks like confidence is often just a carefully maintained structure built on your emotional response. When that response fades, the structure begins to shake. And what you see next is not strength, it's exposure. When control starts slipping, behavior changes quickly, not in calm ways, but in unstable patterns that seem confusing at first. Sometimes there's sudden anger that feels out of place. Sometimes there's unexpected silence that feels like punishment. Sometimes there's a sudden kindness that feels forced or strategic. This is not randomness. This is a system trying to recover control. It's trying to pull you back into emotional reaction. But none of it works. Confusion becomes their last tool because confusion keeps you engaged. There's a deeper layer that most people never see. Underneath the behavior is fear. Not surface fear, but deep internal instability. When someone cannot control how you respond anymore, they are forced to face something they avoided for a long time. They are no longer the center of your emotional world. That loss creates internal panic, and that panic often shows itself through blame, silence, or sudden emotional extremes. What looks like power is actually emotional instability trying to regain balance. Silence is not a weakness. Silence is awareness. Silence is emotional independence. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding the cycle. When you stop feeding the cycle, the dynamic has to change or collapse. This is why silence feels threatening to someone who depends on emotional control. It removes access. It removes leverage. It removes the emotional reaction they depend on. Silence is not about punishment. It's about separation. It's about stepping out of the pattern completely. When the old dynamic no longer works, it tries different approaches. It may try emotional intensity. It may try distance. It may try rewriting history or shifting blame. But underneath all of it is one goal: to restore the old emotional structure where you react and they control the direction. When that no longer works, the structure collapses, and what remains is the truth that was hidden under all the noise. The connection was never balanced. It was built on response. Healing changes everything because it removes access. Not physical access, emotional access. The ability to pull you into reaction weakens. As you grow, you begin to see patterns instead of emotions. You begin to recognize cycles instead of confusion. You begin to respond from awareness instead of impulse. This shift changes how every interaction feels. What once felt overwhelming becomes predictable. What once felt personal becomes mechanical. And that's where freedom begins. The deepest disruption is not losing someone, it's losing emotional control over them, because control depends on connection that can be triggered. When that trigger no longer works, the connection becomes ineffective as a tool, and what remains is a mirror they cannot avoid, a reflection they cannot control, a reality they cannot shape. That's what creates instability. Most people think the struggle is about love, hate, or misunderstanding, but the real structure is simpler. It's about emotional dependence and response. Once you remove your emotional reaction, the entire system loses its grip. Not because you fought harder, but because you stopped participating in the cycle. That's the real shift. That's the real break. What you eventually realize is simple and powerful. The intensity was never proof of their strength. It was proof of your response. And when your response changes, everything changes. You are not breaking anything by stepping back. You are stepping out of a pattern that required your participation to survive. And once you stop participating, the illusion ends. What remains is clarity. What remains is peace. What remains is you. And this is what all narcissists don't want you to understand. Much love to you all. Scurv out. On to the next one. Peace.